What's this then? Khaba before Massa? Well, yes, but actually... Yeah, no, yes. Look, don't judge. I'm not sure what kind of order you expect this stuff to happen in, but... Yeah, deal with it. Anyway, Legends. I'm not Cerberus, and welcome to Khabarovsk. It is one of the two legendary T destroyers introduced to the Bureau during the November 2020 update, opposite Shimakaze, and is probably more easily described as not being a destroyer at all, and probably more akin to a cruiser, but without a citadel. The ship didn't actually exist outside of blueprints, and I've had a little bit of difficulty trying to get hold of any information outside what Wargaming Order provides in-game, so this ship's history lesson will be short and sweet. Khabarovsk is based on the Project 47 4,500-ton destroyer flotilla leader design, and it's armed with 2 quintuple torpedo launchers and 4 twin 130mm B2U guns. How to describe her? She's massive, she's fast, has more armour than most crews in game, slightly terrifying if left to its own devices. Is it a good boat though? Well, that does depend on how you set it up. If you go for concealment, then in my opinion it's not a good boat at all, but there will probably be somebody out there who can prove me wrong. If however you play it as a long range pyromaniac spamming HE cruiser from death, that made no sense, but whatever, it's a very good boat. As your typical destroyer, she's kind of cack, but as a cruiser, she's evil. Don't mistake me saying that she's a good cruiser though, for endorsing sticking a cruiser captain on her. Nope. It's just not the done thing. For one thing, if I recommended that, I'd have a stack of people that I regularly play the game with knocking on my door wanting a quiet word down by the bins with some shanks. Thankfully, I have found lots of entertainment by using Vladimir Trubotskoy, set up for gunning and barbecuing big game with Observant Rage, Look at Me Now, Playing with Fire, Cloudy Days, and Unstoppable, inspired by Erich Bay and William Sims. Twist and Track can also work on this ship, but I wanted to make Tier 7 and Legendary Battleship lives miserable by experimenting with HE. I mean, what's not to love with having a 14% fire chance every 4 or so seconds? It is entirely possible to just skip on the concealment completely and use some of the other commanders as inspirations, but for me personally, having at least some level of concealment means that should the shit go sideways, you've at least got some chance to break off if you've pushed in a bit too far. Sure, you do have a smoke screen at your disposal, but the alpha Chad in me ditches that and goes for the heal. Yes, you heard me right. Khabarovsk gets access to a repair party, however unlike the other destroyer in-game that currently has one, the other of course being Kid, you do have to give up your smoke generator, but really so long as you keep mobile and actively manoeuvring, you should be fine, especially thanks to her armour, which we'll touch on that in a little while. Aside from that, you have your typical damage control party and an engine boost to play with, which is fairly typical destroyer stuff. When it comes to the modules for this ship, I am favouring using Aiming Systems Mod 1, Steering Gear Mod 2 and 3, and Gunfire Control System Mod 2. Why no concealment? Because this thing has an 11-second base for the ship, that's bloody why. I measured her armour, and well, I haven't yet worked out how to slot the arm viewer into my videos, so I think for now a mini version will just be slotted into the corner, like so you can sit and enjoy the gameplay, and it may be useful just to have a quick check of the armour itself. Having viewed said armour, it can be put into context why this is a cruiser without citadel. She has 20mm of plating all over, except for 13mm around the superstructure, and a nice big slab of 50mm cheek and belt plating. Yes, this thing can ricochet Yamato AP shells when angled effectively, and that belt plating renders it immune to HE damage at those areas to most 300mm guns and below. With that out of the way, let's run through some of the other numbers, shall we? As usual, my declarations, Trubotskoy is level 14-2, with Erich Bay at 11-2, and William Sims being 16-2. For hit points, we are holding strong at 25,380, with its 4 twin 130mm guns able to lob Soviet Molotovs 13.4 kilometers away with a spicy 14% fire chance every 4.6 seconds. Perfect for warming up the hearts and souls of Kurfürsts and Yamatos that have strayed too far north into this cold Soviet expanse. Shell damage is fairly inconsequential, with 1330 on the HE shells and 2600 on the AP Citadel, which is particularly nasty against close-range broadside cruisers. Her torpedoes aren't the usual Russian affair, however. They are middling in both range and speed at 6 km and 58 knots, with a comparatively long reload time versus the previous Russian destroyers of 100 seconds, but they do hit for 19,500 damage and are visually detected at 0.6 km. Yes, If you were the only ship spotting these and you haven't spotted them with sonar, you have about 4 seconds of reaction time. Good luck. When it comes to mobility, the 43 knot based speed puts her in the top 3 destroyers in the game. This does come at the cost of having a bigger turn circle than some battleships at 760 meters with a 6.4 second rudder shift. Remember, that is with running double rudder. All the good stuff does have to come with the downside, and yes, you do have piss poor concealment. Although it is still pretty usable at 6.6 kilometers by sea, 3.7 by air, and 2.9 while firing a smokescreen. Remember, if you get set on fire, your surface detection blooms by 2 kilometers and your air detection by 3 kilometers, so that is something to keep in mind. As you can sort of see in the game in the background, I found my niche playing Khabarovsk pretty much like a cruiser, as I've mentioned previously. In this particular game, I admit I spent more time than I would have liked to, camping and HE spamming around islands, you know, just like most cruisers do. But it worked. So, yay, I guess. Anyway, for me, you don't really want to be going to the cap contesting if there is other destroyers there being backed up by support unless your team is on point. You're a big target, and while fast and well armoured, your ability to disappear is pretty limited. I have had way more success playing Khaba running and gunning from range, using natural formations as cover, and utilising allied smoke screens when and where I can. That doesn't mean totally ignore the cap circles, however. Being one of the fastest ships in the game means you have to be mindful of what's going on, and being able to get from point A to point B rapidly, and secure caps when needed, is essential to winning the game. It's worth remembering that running play with fire shifts your gameplay from a destroyer hunter, as naturally you ought to be running twist and track if not, to one of big game hunting, harassing and annoying the shit out of anything that is the cruiser and bigger. That is because whilst playing with fire, your HE shell damage is significantly lower and it curtails your DPS by quite a chunk. Your HE will be your primary damaged farm against big boats seeking to barbecue them with fires from stem to stern, and should you happen upon any broadside cruisers or destroyers at close range, I would recommend switching to AP as soon as possible. Those rapid firing 130mm guns can cause eye-watering amounts of damage in quick succession in close quarters, particularly against juicy cruiser citadels. Speaking of broadsides, if a cruiser is happening to fire HE at you, you should try and trick them into hitting your 50mm belt armour. The only cruiser HE that you really need to be worried about is German 203mm and the Azuma and Alaska. Should they switch to AP, or you happen to come across a battleship, then again, try and get them to hit your belt armour, but this time angle, because there's a good chance you could ricochet those shells, even those belonging to Yamato. Closing time now, and in summary, run, gun, camp, burn and angle, depending on the situation, is how to play Khabarovsk. Don't be afraid to kite if needed. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, whack that like button and hit subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I'll leave you to watch the remainder of this game in peace without my god-awful narration. So, take care. Bye for now. I'll catch you next time.